Hey guys, welcome back to Seller Sessions. Again, we bring back Anthony Lee. How you doing, Anthony?
Fantastic.
Cool.
Thank you.
Right. So today we're going to be talking about contributions to your listings, especially around the example. This has been going on for a while now, but not everyone is completely aware. Is that when you can't change your title, your bullet points, etc. It's like there's a block there. So let's walk through that. I know a lot of the listeners will know how to do this, but there's been some updates, I'm assumed, recently. So let's just take a walk down memory lane. This goes back to about 3 years, isn't it, when this really started to kick in, whereby people were playing around with their title too much. It's almost like it hit a point when it's like, yep, no more. You're not going to be playing around with the title anymore. And I don't know what that came down to, whether there was a threshold that you reach for the number of tweaks messing around. But Anthony, take it away.
Okay. Well, this actually, like the old heads will know how to solve this problem.
Yeah.
But a lot of people that haven't been selling for that long, like maybe they just haven't run into this issue yet.
Yeah.
But basically, anybody that sells on Amazon knows, or if they don't, they should know that the listing does not belong to the seller. The listing belongs to Amazon.
Yeah.
So for that reason, Amazon assigns, I guess, a hierarchy of who's allowed to make contributions. Amazon always trumps everybody. Amazon's contributions are number one.
Yeah.
Right below Amazon is the brand owner, which is the reason why brand registry both exists and is effective. It doesn't keep people from selling on your listing, but it does keep people from making listing contributions if they're not you, the brand owner. And then outside of brand registry and the brand owner, usually listing contributions will go to the person who created the listing, unless a hijacker with like a vendor with lots and lots and lots of selling history jumps on it, in which case then they will assume the hierarchy, the higher up hierarchy of listing contributions. But most people don't run into that issue. Most of the time, it's just an individual seller creates a listing and they have listing contributions. Now, what will happen is, whether it's triggered by the amount of times they tweaked it, or whether it's just like Amazon makes a change, right? So one of the changes that Amazon's been making in a lot of categories is forcing the brand name into the title, which I have a couple of ideas on how to manipulate that too, but we can talk about that another time. Anyway, and then when they make this change, sometimes people go and they try to change their title, even not removing the brand name, just make any change to the title or to the bullets, and they'll click save, and Amazon says this could take up to 15 minutes. 15 minutes later, the listing's not changed, and then an hour later it's not changed, and then 12 hours later it's not changed. What happened? Well, sometimes when Amazon, remember, the number one contributor to all listings in the hierarchy, makes a change, it'll switch off your ability to make contributions, because it'll basically read it as Amazon made a contribution and Amazon's can't be changed. So what happens then? What do? You can't make listing changes. You can call seller support and ask them. Sometimes they'll say, okay, and sometimes they'll say, all right, well, you need to provide us with proof or we're not going to change anything. Okay, that's kind of annoying, right? What the crap is proof? This is not as bad as it might seem, especially to a new seller. So basically, the steps on how to take control of your listing again are as follows. Create a website. I know this is a big debate. This is a completely separate debate that a lot of people have. When I'm a seller on Amazon, should I have my own website? And the answer is yes. Does it have to be a Shopify site? No. Does it have to be a WordPress site? No. All you need for right now is a web presence. So you need to buy a domain and you need to have something to host content on. So
I use Strikingly. I've got a dozen or so websites for all different reasons, whether it's for brand registry, etc. And they cost me $5 a month or whatever, and then I pop them in and I pop them out. And just to use that platform, it's very easy to set up. It's all bolt and build. They don't have to look beautiful. They just need to have the right information on, and then you can just mute them and go up and down through your package. And sometimes your packages, you can get 6 websites for $20 or whatever. They give you various different options. So it's not hard nowadays. It's not like you've got to install WordPress, etc.
Well, if I'm doing a brand, I'll probably end up on Shopify anyway. But however you do it, have a web presence. And then what you do, this is really simple. You create a page on that website. you try to mimic the look, or at least the layout of your Amazon listing, right? It doesn't have to be like exact, like you don't have to code it to look exactly like Amazon. Just mimic the layout, have images on one side and then title, bullets, and description, right?
Yeah.
And then exactly the way you want your Amazon listing to look, you put the wording and the images exactly the way you want into this page. This has now become the manufacturer's website, because a lot of people don't know this, but if you're a private labeler, you're the manufacturer. No, that doesn't mean that you own the factory. What that means is you've contracted a factory to make your product, which means you are in control of the manufacturing process, which makes you the manufacturer. So you just created the manufacturer's website. So then you go to Amazon, you create a case. Now it gives you the ability to input this all automated. I personally like to talk to people, so I'll just kind of pretend like their prompts didn't work, and then say I have another option or another issue, and get somebody, get to that little window where it says you want a phone, chat, or email, and then I'll press phone. I'll get somebody to call me right back, because that's what happens when you press phone. You put your phone number in, and they call you within like 4 minutes or whatever. Anyway, when I get somebody on the phone and say, hey, I'm trying to make changes to my listing, and I press save, nothing's happening. And they're going to be like, well, did you give it 24 hours? Yes, I did this twice over the past 48 hours. Okay, let me take a look. And then sometimes they'll be upfront and tell you, well, Amazon made a change, and that's why you can't change it. Or sometimes they'll be dumb and be like, I don't know what's going on. At which point you just say, hey, look, the reason I'm trying to make this change is because the information does not match the manufacturer's information. Now, Amazon has an obligation, and it's part of their terms. It's part of their understanding of the way their platform works. Amazon has an obligation to reflect the manufacturer's information accurately on their catalog. Mm-hmm. So if you call and say, hey, the manufacturer information is wrong, it doesn't matter if Amazon made a change, a contribution change, because that seller support person is trained, well, it's got to match the manufacturer's information. So that's when they say, okay, well, I need proof. That's awesome. I have the manufacturer's website. The domain matches the brand name. Here is the page. Take a look. You'll see, right? I'm trying to change it to that, and for some reason it's not changing. At that point, because they're trained to do this, they will push the changes through for you. Now, here is the added bonus. This does not work 100% of the time. However, sometimes when they push that change through, contribution change capabilities will switch back on for you. It has worked 99% of the time for me. I know some people that still can't make contribution changes, and that sucks, and I'm sorry if that happens. But usually if you can get seller support to push through one of your changes, or the catalog team to push through one of your changes, they'll give you contribution change abilities back. So that's the easiest way to do it. And when you call or you write, the number one biggest mistake that sellers make is they'll say, I want it changed because I'm the brand owner. Yeah. That seller support person and Amazon as a whole does not care if you're the brand owner. That doesn't matter to them. If you say, I want it changed because this is the way I created the brand, this is me, I'm the brand, they don't know that. You're just a seller to them. So you can't argue with them. So usually I just play dumb. I'd say, hey, you know what? The manufacturer website says one thing and your website says a different thing. And I think that they should match, right? Yes, you're absolutely right. It should match. No argument at that point, because the manufacturer information is the rule of law to Amazon. So that's it.
Cool. Now you said it's another story, but let's go back to the brand name thing that you mentioned earlier that you got some theories on.
Well, it's not that I have theories. It's that I had a colleague approach me, and then we kind of worked through the process of what happens when you do this, and he did a bunch of testing, and his results were awesome. So basically, his brand name kept getting pushed to the front of his title. Yeah. So he figured out that the first thing, and if you think about it, logically this makes sense, right? So what happens if your brand name is like super long? Yeah. If your brand name's over 80 characters long, are they still going to push that to the front? Because then when the title's truncated in some devices, nobody's going to know what it is. So he tested that. So he had his brand name, right? XYZ Widgets dash, and then he added a tagline. widget, top quality widget from America, or, in America or something. I don't know. It doesn't matter, right? Well, once he added the tagline, suddenly the brand got pushed to the end of the title. And for a lot of people, that's enough. They just want that, right? So XYG widgets dash, quality kitchenware from XYZ. Boom, end of the title. Perfect. But he kept playing, and then he added an even longer tagline. So it was like XYZ widgets, quality widgets from America's #1, distributor of, stainless steel widgets by XYZ.
Yeah.
And then it didn't show up at all. It was too long. It completely just didn't even put it in the title. And so his brand name, obviously, in all of the stuff in seller, in the back end and seller support, was the brand dash and then this really long tagline. But the title was free of it. So that's how you manipulate that. Now, that's as far as the testing has gone. I don't know how this affects brand registry, right? Obviously, if you're brand registered, your brand's supposed to be a certain name. I don't know if they'll just ignore the tagline if you add that, or if they'll treat it as a completely different brand name, and then you have some issues. But for those of you who aren't brand registered or are brand registered and don't mind testing, that's where I'll leave you with it.
Sounds good. Cool. Well, look, let's wrap that there. What's the best way people can reach you?
Best way to reach me on Facebook, just look up Unofficial Anthony Lee. You'll see me there, and then hit me up on Messenger. I respond very, very quickly, and I have a lot of conversations on Messenger through my Unofficial Anthony Lee page. And for official business, Anthony@sixleap.com.
Sounds good. Thanks for joining us today, Anthony. Guys, thank you for joining us. If this is your first time, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. I'll see you again in the next few days. Take care.